Guys, we have so many awesome news for today, but at first let's go to the Kerch Strait and to the port of Caucasus where Russia lost its ferry fully loaded with oil or maybe diesel fuel. The name of the ferry is Conrad Trader, and as you can see it's huge, fully loaded with those tanks. Altogether there were around 30 reservoirs on that ferry by the time of the strike. And this is the outcome. You may see the nose part of the ship. After it, the ferry just sank down. Guys, unfortunately, I cannot publish all of the videos related to the topic because of the platform restrictions, but I have my Telegram channel. You may find it in the video description just below, and there I share more information with the videos attached. Russians also have one more of the ferry. It's Avangard, but it was hit before because of the Ukrainian drone strike, and since that time there is no reliable information about that ferry, whether it's in operation or not. I couldn't find the information about it from the public channels, but this one, Conrad Trader, is absolutely no-go after today's strike. And here you may see that the deck of the ship is made out of the wooden constructions. I actually wonder why Russia is using those ferries to transfer the oil or fuel across the channel, because they have the Kerch bridge. Isn't it better just to transport those fuel tanks using the trains, because there is the railway on the Kerch bridge? So it's quite strange as for me that Russia continued to use ferries. Maybe it's their weak spot. And Ukraine just cut the supplies for the Russian army in Crimea and also the southern regions of Ukraine, which are now occupied. Yes, definitely it was a very big ferry. Tanks are not running without the diesel fuel, so probably everything will be disturbed in Crimea for Russia right now. But again, they have the alternate connection. Actually, I thought the main connection, the Kerch bridge. But why didn't they use the Kerch bridge for those kind of the transportation? Out of clue, guys. So the next logical step for Ukraine is to cut the supply connection, the main one for the Russian Federation. Yes, the Kerch bridge. And there are some of the rumors also from the Russian side that Ukraine might do it very soon. Well, we'll see. Oh, by the way, hello my friends and welcome. My name is Dennis and this is the latest update from Ukraine. Let's go. Guys, if you want to support the job that I do daily on YouTube, you may join my Patreon page. It is available with my personal link just in the video description below. Thank you so much for supporting my motivation, then YouTube cancels monetization. Alright, now let's go to the Russian Federation and their mishaps. There is the military airfield not far away from Volgograd city in Russia. If we can zoom into it, you may see that it's the base for the Russian fighter jets, Sukhoi 34s also, which are dropping the gliding bombs, and you may see that Russia built some sort of the new hangars to hide their airplanes against the drone strikes, but something went wrong. I would say very wrong, judging on the satellite image. The airfield was just demolished. Including the part of the hangars, there are just no more. Some of the hangars, however, were just damaged. And you see mainly the Russian airplanes are missing from the apron. Before there were many of those, so probably the Russian intelligence after all received the signal to evacuate the airplanes. As we know, Russia has their rats elsewhere and also in Ukrainian army. The technical support base of the airfield was also demolished. Miraculously, we also have some of the photos from the place. There you can see some of the Russian planes still in the hangar, so they were not able to evacuate everything. Here is clearly the airplane, their airplane. Here you may see the hull and the airplane inside, so it was damaged for sure. This is the nose of the airplane, and I'm sure that in this totally demolished hangar there was the airplane too. Here you may see that hangars weren't able to secure the airplanes. Those hulls are shining like the stars in the midnight sky, making some sort of the constellation. Here the cameraman shows the element of the shrapnel. Hopefully he will share more photos from the place. As you see, even during the offensive operation of Ukraine in Kursk, Ukraine doesn't hesitate to strike the Russian objects far behind the front lines, including the Russian military airfields. As you see, Ukraine is capable to do it even without ATACMS. It is not the part of the element of the ATACMS missile. Could it be the ATACMS missile with the cluster munition warhead? Well, I don't think so, because Volgograd is really far away, more than 400 kilometers away from the nearest Ukrainian controlled territory. And the maximum range of ATACMS is 300 kilometers. Also, some other facilities inside the airfield were damaged. And Ukraine immediately reported today that Russia decreased its military aviation activity in Kursk Oblast and also in the western side of Ukraine. So in this case, Russia would have to withdraw their air defense systems to protect their military airfields, otherwise after some time they would just lose their aviation. Alright, and the part of the Ukrainian drone has already been found in the place. It is the heart. Alright, here is written "Від моєї дорогої", from my darling. Initials probably AI or LI. Згори черти в пеклі. Alright, finally I understood what is written here. It means burn in hell, you devils. And you know, I agree with that message. Because after all, Russia did the most damage to Ukrainian civilian infrastructure using aviation. And here's probably the exhaust system for the engine. Probably. Guys, what is interesting about this particular drone attack, it seems like the drones explode mid-air, not touching the hangars themselves. It was a kaboom because the shrapnel went to the hangar from the top, and you see the holes also from the top. So the drone system worked as, for example, ATACMS missile, which also explodes mid-air, sharing the small cluster grenades, which later on hit the ground. Yeah, we understand that the physics of the cluster munition is a little different, but here it was quite similar with this mid-air kaboom, and later on shrapnel was released to hit the airplanes. The airplanes are made out of the composite materials, out of the alloy mostly. Both of those materials are very easy to penetrate with the shrapnel, so absolutely 100% Russia lost several of the airplanes because of the strike, as well as you saw many of the other facilities in this airfield. And at this point of the war, I may say that Ukraine is more effective, much more effective compared to Russia in using the long-range drones. The Russian, or it's better to say Iranian Shahed drones, are being sent by Russia to Ukraine every night. But Ukraine has the mobile air defense units, basically vehicles with machine guns, with air defense cannons, which protect the vast part of Ukraine, and the territory of Ukraine is actually smaller compared to Russia, so it's much easier to protect it. In Russia, using the mobile defense groups is almost impossible. But again, the Ukrainian intelligence should take the look of why Russia knows about those strikes and able to evacuate all of their airplanes from the region. Almost all of the airplanes, because some they thought they might hide in those hangars made out of cooking foil probably. I'm sure that for the Russian military budget, the hangars cost millions of dollars, but in fact, as you see, those are just decorations. Yeah, absolutely great operation by Ukraine on this facility. Well done. Cooked and well done. Alright guys, it seems like soon I'm gonna report of what is not burning in Russia. Recently there were numerous of those kind of the events, sorry for the blurred image, but this is one of the largest Russian oil storages in Rostov near the Proletar's town, and the fire spread towards the jet fuel. According to the information about this Russian facility, Russia stores their benzene, gasoline, diesel and the aviation fuel. Jet fuel. And today fire spread towards the jet fuel tanks and they start to explode. The Russian firefighters were not happy about the case. Many of them left the area immediately. And I would say there is nothing they can do actually to eliminate this huge fire, which is ongoing there for already 5 days as far as I remember. By the way, it is also the result of the drone strike, which caused the chain reaction almost fully destroying the facility. Yes, and probably this is the most effective tool against the fire in the Rostov oil storage. Just spray and someday it will go off. Alright, and now let's go to the Kursk Oblast, where our guys celebrate in the local office of the village. Here you can see the placard of the Putin together with the Russian flag. And our guys, usually they don't drink that much, that's why they just throw everything away. I bet that they found this vodka in the same cabinet. Alright, so what is happening on the ground? The deep state military map gives this update. So Ukraine moves quite a lot in many of the directions, including Kornovo. The part of the Kornovo is now under Ukrainian control down to this river, and there are two ways how Ukraine may advance towards the main part of the city using two of the bridges, but Russia definitely controls those two narrow passes. I'm sure that they already aimed their mortars and artillery to those spots. So the most logical part from the Ukrainian side is to continue to press Russian forces in Kornovo for sure. but also to advance to the settlement from the south and also from this part, from Olgina. And we know, according to the other sources, that Ukraine is already over here, that it goes towards Kornevo to cut a very important supply road. That's the aim. Well, you may also think that Ukraine might do it from the south, but it is very difficult to go through this swampy terrain, which is full of bushes and woods. But Ukraine may cross the river, for example, a little south from Kornevo and there, but Ukraine may try to cross the river, for example, in the southern part, much more closer to Kornevo town itself. The town is not very big, but from the geographical point of view, obviously Russia might be trapped there. So here we have the information from the other map source. This is Kornevo. Now it is partially taken by Ukraine down the river, and the Ukrainian army is moving from this direction, advancing towards that very important road. By the way, this is the railroad which goes to Kornevo, which has already been cut. So I'm quite positive about this possible future scenario for Ukraine, and here Ukrainian army is damn close to Kornevo, so it's already a good area to strike it from the south. And later on the Ukrainian army may almost freely go to Rilsk. Rilsk is the next big settlement. And as you see, Russia started already to build some of the defense lines near it. Maybe at the wrong direction, because they think that Ukraine should cross this river to get into Rilsk, so it plays the role of the natural obstacle. What about the bridges which were cut by Ukraine? I'm speaking about this one in Glushkova. Well, Russia again tried to build some of the pontoon bridges across the river, and the result is as usual for them. The pontoon bridge once again was just hammered. It's good that this entire river is within the ATACMS range. And according to the latest information, Ukraine took Martinovka village under control in the Kursk Oblast and also moved from this side. The fight in Kursk continues, and from what I see, Russia still is out of the main solutions of how to cause the Ukrainian army to withdraw the forces from the Russian territory. From the latest Russian news, Putin wants to mobilize some of the locals into the territorial defense, but I think that this plan will just fail. Why? Well, because people in Russia just don't want to fight for their land. It is obvious because Ukrainian forces do not have any sort of the resistance on the way, even from the local communities. In Ukraine, there was the resistance, for example, on the south. Yes, Russian army was fast taking the territory, but later on Russian soldiers faced the opposition from locals. For example, it happened in Kherson, where people just went on the protests in the squares, but later on only with repressions, Russian soldiers got rid of those protesters. It became just dangerous for civilians to go with Ukrainian flags out from their homes. But the Ukrainian army behaves differently than they went to the Russian side. Because of that principle, the territorial defense of Russia is just impossible. So in a while, Putin will have to announce a new mobilization, and probably it will be a hidden one this time. They already did everything from the legislation point of view to mobilize every particular Russian man. Now the Russian regime basically may cut every Russian citizen from the social life. Well, to be open and honest with you, the similar stuff is taken in Ukraine with the recent mobilization law. Your bank accounts, driving license, any sort of the government services could be suspended. If you are not willing to go to the army, then the government calls you. So here's kind of the similarity between Ukraine and Russia, but in Russia the pessimism about the war is very, very high. For the next year, Russia needs 300,000 soldiers. I wonder if they can get those this way. What is good that Ukraine continued to use the Air Force and the aviation gliding bombs to strike the Russian strongholds in Kursk. Today, the officials from the United States confirmed that Ukraine may use the Western-made weaponry in operations also on the Russian territory, including Kursk. During his latest meeting, Putin said that Ukraine tried to hit the Kursk nuclear power plant. The Russian dictator called the International Atomic Agency to attend the place, just in case. But before Russia did many of the provocations against the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, even burning something inside the cooling tower. Also, Putin mentioned today that they will increase the allowance for the families who were forced to evacuate from their homes in the Kursk Oblast. So from $100, from 10,000 rubles, they'll increase the payment by 50%, so it will become $150. Then people lost their previous lives, they were forced to evacuate from the war zone. $150 is absolutely good step for the start of the new life in prosperity. New messages from Aludinov, the commander of the TikTok battalion. He said that the special military operation will finish this year, or there will be a start of the Third World War. All of those individuals who think that Russia might start the Third World War and it is good, Russia will be victorious in that case, well, actually, in that case, Russia will be just demolished, as well as many other places around the globe, but Russia will feel absolutely the major strike. They speak about the topic they don't really know about. Russia shows its inability to defend its territory against the Ukrainian army, which exhausted in fights for 2.5 years. And they want to start a big war. Yeah, indeed. Russians show how they send some of the reinforcements to the Kursk Oblast. There are some of the BMPs, none of the tanks, just some of the engineering equipment and the infantry fighting vehicles. Alright, we have the new update from the Ukrainian front lines, and there Ukraine went on a counterattack in Luhansk Oblast, close to Novovodyanne, taking kind of the big piece of land. Well, it's great that Ukraine is still capable to counterattack on its front lines, not just in the Russian Federation, where Russia wasn't prepared for that. Also, I know that the guys from the 3rd Assault Brigade started their counterattack operation somewhere in the Kharkiv Oblast, I guess northern part of it in Vovchansk. Or maybe in other place. The guys from the 3rd Assault Brigade promised to share more videos, and obviously I'll share them too. But Russia still has the advantage in their main attack vector towards Pokrovsk, and they entered the Novohorodivka village. Yesterday and today they were already spotted near those buildings. Also, they moved on the south of this hump, almost fully occupying the Ptycha village. And now let's measure the closest distance between Pokrovsk and the front lines nowadays. It's around 9 kilometers. It's very, very close. Hopefully Ukraine will be able to stop the Russian offensive at this defense line. Plus, Russia continued to achieve the positive results for them in Toretsk. They already entered the town, and soon probably they're gonna be in the central part of it. My friends, please don't forget to press your huge like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot. And as usual, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.